Lesson number 7, Principles and the Declaration of Independence. In this lesson, we're going to look at the 3 principles of democracy. Remember, they're liberty, justice, and equality. And we're going to try and take a look of what they have to do with the Declaration of Independence. A little background knowledge in case you don't know what the Declaration of Independence is. The United States was not always the United States. It used to be a group of 13 things called colonies. Colonies are places that are usually under the control of another country. So, for example, Pennsylvania, where we live, it wasn't always a state. At one point, Pennsylvania was a colony. It was a part of North America that was controlled by another country. So at one point, a country called Britain controlled the original 13 colonies. So the United States was not always here. It used to be under the control of another place called Great Britain, and we didn't call it the United States. We called it the 13 colonies. The Declaration of Independence is the document that splits the two sides. So it's the piece of paper, or kind of like a letter, that told the King of Britain that the colonies didn't want to be a part of Great Britain anymore and didn't want to be under their control. So we'll focus on that document for this lesson and for this topic, but we'll try and tie in the 3 principles that you've learned about previously as well. So our goals for this lesson, we're going to review the principles before we get started on the Declaration of Independence. I'm going to give you some background information on what caused the Declaration of Independence so you can better understand the document itself. And we're going to analyze the document for examples of the principles. What that means is you're going to be able to look at the actual document, the actual Declaration of Independence, and find examples of the 3 principles, liberty, justice, and equality, being violated. What that means is you're going to look for examples of things the king did that went against liberty, things the king did that went against justice, and things the king did that went against equality. The essential question is only one for this lesson. How does the Declaration of Independence reflect the principles? What that means is, how does the Declaration of Independence show the principles in action? How does what the colonists wrote in this Declaration of Independence show that they wanted liberty, justice, and equality? So a quick review of the principles from the last lesson. Liberty, remember, is the freedom to do what you want without overwhelming control. So if you have complete liberty, that essentially means that you can do whatever you want, whenever you want. That's what liberty is, the freedom to choose to do what you want to do. Remember, justice is what is right, and what is lawful is upheld. So that means that the society is run based on laws that are just, meaning that they're fair, that they're right, that they don't violate anyone's wishes or morals, and they make a society run in a positive way. Third one's equality. In other words, everyone is treated the same, no matter what your race is, your gender, your religion, how much money you have. None of those things are held against you in any way. None of those things matter. You're still treated equally in a country that practices equality. And then from the last lesson, we said that over the course of U.S. history, people have had these principles, liberty, justice, and equality, but there have been cases where people were denied these. We use several examples, and we'll continue to build on that, but remember, these principles are the basic ideas of it. We need to understand the ideas, and if you feel that we don't have these principles, that's something we'll get into more in some of the upcoming lessons. You'll have the ability to voice your opinions and concerns. So what causes the Declaration of Independence? I should say what it is first. It's basically a letter to the King of Britain saying that the colonists didn't want to be part of Britain anymore. It says that the colonists wanted to be on their own. They wanted to be in charge of themselves rather than under the rule and control of the King of Britain. So they wrote this letter to him basically saying, why they wanted to be independent from Great Britain, and all the things that the king did that made them want to be independent. So here are some of those things. The first thing was something called the Proclamation of 1763. And these aren't the only things. I just picked some that I thought would kind of show you guys some basic reasons why the colonists didn't want to be a part of Great Britain anymore, why they didn't want the king to be in charge of them anymore. There's just some of the things that happened. It's just to give you a basic idea. So it's not all of them. The first one was something called the Proclamation of 1763. What the king did with that was basically almost draw a line down the colonies, and basically told the colonists, you can't go past this line. It actually went through western Pennsylvania, maybe close to where some of you are right now. The king's reasons for that is he didn't want to have to protect the colonists if they went too far west, because there were Native Americans and the French were in the west, and he didn't want to have to pay for protection for the colonists. He also didn't want them to be trading or buying stuff from Native Americans or the French. He wanted them to be buying stuff from British people. So he restricted where colonists could go and who they could buy stuff from or sell stuff to. The writs of assistance were another thing. The British could search ships whenever they wanted to. Back then, no cars. So the way you get around and you transport things is usually by ship or horse. So the British could essentially just search stuff whenever they wanted to. They didn't have to have a reason to do it. They could just do it. So if you pulled your ship up to a dock or a port in a city, and there was like a British officer, kind of like a police officer there, they could just search your stuff, and they didn't have to have any reason why. Then you could be taken to court, and you wouldn't even get a jury trial. Taxes increased big time during this time period because the British were trying to pay off debt from all these wars that they were fighting during the time period. So the colonists weren't happy that the taxes were going up. The Quartering Act is a really good example of why the colonists were mad. British troops could stay in your house. You had to feed them, you had to provide for them. So basically what that means is if a British soldier needed a place to stay, they could knock on your door and say, I'm going to stay here for a few days, and there's nothing you could do about it, at least under the law. The last thing is Coercive Acts. It gave the British very strict control over the social and economic functions of the colonies. Basically, in summary, these acts made it so the British could basically kind of do whatever they wanted, especially to the city of Boston. They could close down things, they could arrest people for essentially no reason. It gave British people living in the colonies a whole lot of freedom to kind of do whatever they wanted to do. But that's just a very brief summary of it. So when you look at the document, when you do this topic and the assignment that is underneath this lesson, you're going to have to know the basic structure of the document. So I'm going to go over that briefly. There's 4 parts. There's the introduction, which is why they wrote it. There's the rights of citizens, where they explain what they think the rights of people should be. The third part is the list of grievances. I'm going to show you that in a second. That's the part I want you to focus on. The list of grievances is why they wrote the document. It's all the things, a big list of all the things they think the king did that were wrong, essentially. It's all their problems with the king. So when you see the word he, they're referring to the king. It says he has increased taxes. He refers to the King of England. And a statement calling for independence from Britain. It ends with a paragraph about that all of these grievances are why we're trying to get away from you, why we don't want you, the king, to be in charge of us anymore. So that how it ends. What I want you to focus on is, I'm going to bring it up, where it starts right there, where you see he has refused his assent to laws the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. That's what you're going to use when you come up with information in the next assignment. You're going to use that to try and see things the king did that violated liberty, things the king did that violated justice, and things the king did that violated equality. Some tips for the assignment. Focus on the grievances like I discussed with you. If you have trouble with the language, because some of the language can be tough because they talk differently from us, and so they wrote differently from us. Just contact me and I can read it to you and we can kind of break it down together. If you want the challenge of trying it on your own, that's great too. I'm not going to be too tough in grading your rewording of the stuff. That's going to be something that you have to do. But if you're really struggling with trying to figure out what these grievances are really saying, just contact me and I can help you. Before you get to the actual assignment, be sure to answer the multiple choice questions that are underneath this video. Good luck with those, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Have a great day.